I think it wasn't one thing. It wasn't that epiphany moment where I go, got this great idea. It was a culmination of things. And one of the pivotal ones was of course meeting the Dalai Lama. And again, that wasn't, like, wow, I must do something for good. It was traveling with him over a period of 8 or 10 years, and stuff he said, he drops little gems here and there, and his message is often the same, but in amongst his repetitive message, he drops these real little gems. And it was often in his talks to the business community, who always wanted to hear, yes, making money is fine, and that's all they wanted, that validation. And he would always go, yeah, making money, very good, very good. He goes, but 3 things are very important. One is how you make your money. 2 is why you make your money. But the most important, or the one that resonated with me, is once you've made enough money, what do you do after that? And so ask yourself how much money is enough. And he'd look at all the business people and go, look, you big fat business, look, you're big fat. He always liked to insult people in a friendly way. And he'd go, you obviously have enough money because you eat so much food, right? So once you have enough money, and he goes, I'm not telling you how much is enough. If you want to have a holiday house and cars and skiing overseas, that's fine. You decide how much is enough, but think about it. And every cent you make over and above that, that's for yourself, is wasted. And I was like, yeah, that really resonated with me, because I'd been lucky enough with my job at Optiva to make plenty of money, way more than I needed. And I'd never thought, have I got enough? I was always looking for another investment. And retiring from Optiva, it was like, well, now I'm just going to put into funds, and I'll put into property, and I'll make some more money there, not thinking, have I got enough? And it was really like, wow, actually I have more than I need. If all I do for the next part of my life is make more, I've wasted my opportunity. And of course with the Buddhists, they also have the whole reincarnation issue, and in the next life, Buddhism's all about, what's going to happen in your next life. So it was all like, I really don't want to squander this good fortune I've had in this life for my next life. So a little bit about, forward thinking as well. So it's quite self-interested. So that was the beginning about saying, yeah, actually I should do something more than just build my wealth even more than it is in the next part of my life. If I had to describe the VivCourt experiment, it is about turning the corporate model on its head and driving a company in the corporate sector that's not driven, that doesn't have profit as its first agenda, that has a social purpose, and that removes economically motivated shareholders from the model. Those 3 things: remove economically motivated shareholders, has a social purpose, which is giving all of its profits back to charity, and that has the interest of the employee as its first, and not just lip service to it, but really literally the interest of the employee. We will bend over backwards to accommodate the needs of the employee before profit. That's our experiment. So the operating principles we operate on is firstly trust. So primarily it starts at the front door. We have no contracts. So everything's done on a handshake in terms of employment contracts. Wherever we can do an agreement with a counterparty without a contract, we do it. It's quite rare. Most agreements in the marketplace, you need a contract. But where we can control it, so with our employees, we don't have any employment contracts, which interestingly freaks most employees out. Even though most employment contracts are written for the benefit of the employer, there's rarely a term in a contract that benefits the employees. It normally spells out the restrictions on an employee. Most employees are so institutionalized to believe that a contract is to their benefit, or they must have one, that it's quite difficult for them at the very first stage of stepping into the company to go, well, I'm going to join you and not have a contract. Is that okay? Am I safe? So you're almost taking these, they're shell-shocked in a sense, that institutionalized, I guess is the only word I can describe it, to expect all these layers, all this bureaucracy. So we take that away at the door. So no contracts. We don't have any IP. We don't have any confidentiality clauses. Our code, our trading code is open to almost everyone to see, to work on. So that sense of trust, right? So I trust you. The old motto of the Australian Stock Exchange, and I'm not sure if it still is my word is my bond. Because in a trading pit, if I used to be in a pit of 100 traders, and I would say to a trader, I'll sell that, and they go buy it, and I'd write it out. And they had to rely on the fact that I would agree and stick to my word, because no one heard the trade. And if I was selling it and the market went up the next second, I could just say, no, I'm not going to sell it. And they had no one to complain to. So my word is my bond was really critical. So I like that. I don't know that the market still operates on that. I don't even know if it's their motto still. But my word is my bond, trust. So I'm trying to create an environment where people come to me and we trust them. So we work as colleagues. And when you base yourself on trust, you take away that hierarchy. And every company has this employee-employer rivalry. To a greater or lesser degree, a certain amount of distrust. And the management, employees always go, bloody management or bloody shareholders, because they're not managing on behalf of the employees. If you can take that away and an employee goes, wow, the management's really managing on behalf of me because first of all, they trust me. There's no restrictions on what I can do and what I can see in this company. And I can walk out at any time because there's no employment contract. Suddenly the dynamics change and you look at each other as colleagues. So within the company, I would say our corporate values would be trust and kindness. Because if you're kind to people, if you're thinking at the top of my head, I've got to be kind to people, you're not trying to rip them off and you're trying to treat them poorly, and you remove a lot of politics because in the attempt of being kind, you're thinking about them, not yourself. So our corporate motto or our corporate value my primary corporate value would be kindness, and followed by trust or trust and kindness, one of those two. So that's kind of the way it operates differently. On the rest of it, it operates the same in terms of we trade, people come in and they do their jobs. And then the other aspect is what we do with our profit. So everyone gets a bonus based on their own value to the company, which is a normal corporate metric. And the second part is that we've developed this social bonus system. So the profits, which would otherwise go into the pockets of the shareholders in the form of dividends, the company can now give away to charities. So a lot of companies have that model, or where they give 1% of their profits. So we give 100%. So that's already different. But the second part is that most companies set up these foundations. So Macquarie has a big foundation, Atlassian, and the foundation does the donating. But there's a real disconnect then between the employees and what the company does, because normally it's a foundation and the people that work in the foundation are very engaged and they know what's going on. And for Macquarie Bank's 15,000 employees, or Atlassian's 2,500, there's no connection. So we thought that that's not a very good model. It's still good that money's being given away, but not motivating and not engaging. We wanted to add purpose. So aside from trust and kindness, we want to add purpose, and the purpose is doing good. And if you can bring that purpose from a corporate level to an individual level, and the company is just made up of individuals, then the individuals are more motivated. So if an individual goes, I love my local surf club and I can give $10,000 and it comes from me, how motivating is that? And then next year, if we do really well, maybe I can give $20,000. And that's what we found. We found that, we donated now to maybe almost 100 different not-for-profits, and some I'd never heard of and would never imagined even existed, but it's really important to the employees. So we've allowed company profits, which normally flowed into the pockets of a few, to now be really distributed very broadly and right down at a very granular level in the company. Internally, the effect is it's only just beginning to show itself. I would say a lot of the conversation, when I walk around the desk, I hear people talking about work, but I actually hear them talking about their charities that they support. And a lot of them will come to me and say, oh, my charity's coming down for lunch, can they meet you and can you have a coffee? They're as excited, or they're more excited about a great interaction with the charity they supported than necessarily what they did in the markets that day. And I know that they're interested in the markets because they're all here because they love the markets and they're trading. But it's wonderful to see them so excited about, the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. So these sort of wizened old traders you think wouldn't give a rat's ass about anyone, getting excited about Cerebral Palsy Foundation and, really excited about it. It's fantastic to see, and that engagement that I want them to have with me. So I kind of step back a little bit from the operational side, and I want to engage with them on the charitable side and the social side. And a lot of the talks I have with them, you know, I'm no expert in Buddhism, you know, but I do have some credibility because I met His Holiness, so I like to name drop His Holiness. So, but I talk to them about more sort of not spiritual stuff, but stuff that's not a normal CEO employee talk. Like I talk about, you know, consequences of action, so karma. We talk about karma. You know, we'll go and have a coffee and talk about karma. How many corporates will I have a coffee and talk about karma? So those sorts of conversations I love, and they're not driven by me. That it often comes up from them. You know, they don't say what's karma, but in the course of a conversation, we end up talking about karma and consequences and rebirth, and you know what triggers anger, and is just attachment, not getting what it wants, and all these sorts of different ways of looking at things. You know, bits and pieces I've picked up over the years. You can have a conversation. It's not that I'm trying to lecture to them, but I want to open them to a dialogue with me that's totally different than they would normally have or normally expect to have. I don't take any salary and I don't take any bonus out of the business. So I in that sense, I'm really clean. You know, when a trader whinges about their bonus, I go, I bloody need nothing out of it. I work 5 days a week. I've really enjoyed coming to work. So I was in the finance sector in another trading firm for 20 years, and you're kind of done with it. It would have been easy just to go, I'm not going to get back into it. But I find myself really looking forward to coming to work. I have fun. For me, it's really fun. And I'm quite removed from the P&L swings, you know, like every trading firm has P&L swings every day. I'm quite removed from it. I just have fun. And I'm trying to bring that sense of fun to the company, that you can still have a down day in the markets and it can still be fun. So for me, it's a lot of fun. And it's really exciting to see two things I think we're growing here. One is we're growing a generation of philanthropists that are unconnected to the money that they spend or donate. And most philanthropists, so if I'm a philanthropist and I decide to donate $10,000, so I take $10,000 out of my bank account and I give it to not-for-profit, so I'm $10,000 poorer and you're $10,000 richer, but there's a net gain because I feel really good. But there's still that sense that I'm doing something very charitable to you. I'm giving my wealth away. For these traders or these employees, what we're generating is building a generation of philanthropists who they don't give their own money away. They get their bonus and then they're giving away company profits. So they're learning to give money in a way that's almost a privilege to give. They're humbled to give it. And a lot of them don't want to be visible when they give it because they're almost embarrassed by the thanks that they get when they're like, I'm just giving you money. You know, I'm not doing the hard work, you're doing the hard work. So it's almost, we're breeding people that think it's a privilege to give money to not-for-profits, which it should be. As a corporate sector, we should think it a privilege to give money away, not this sense of like, we're doing you a huge favor. And secondly, it's untied funds. I haven't yet heard of anyone here who's given money and said, well, I want to make sure that it goes to that project and I want some accountability on how it's done. Because for not-for-profits, the greatest burden they can have is having to account for how the money's spent. So almost everyone here gives money with no strings attached. And that money to a not-for-profit is gold. And that's how they're learning to give away money. And hopefully when they make more and when they leave, they will still give money, that sort of money away. So that's for me, that's really fun to see that they don't treat money frivolously, but they treat it as something that is their obligation to give away. I'm still a trader at heart, so I'm still highly competitive. And I know all the trading firms in the market, and we're just beginning to catch up to them. So I love the philanthropy and I love the social purpose, but I'm also really competitive. And I love the fact that we've started from nothing in a really highly competitive environment with a model that everyone said ridiculous. Anyone working for a charity is never going to work that hard. And I love the fact that it's proving itself and we're getting there. So most proud will be when we earn the dollars, right? And for us, my target, which I tell everyone, is in 5 years it will be donating $100 million a year. And if we can get there, that will make me really proud, because I know not only are we doing good with that 100 million, but that we're competitive, because I am competitive.